you know. So it just was a reflection of the society. So that there was also within the teachers. The principal and the vice principals, man and female, both did their jobs and did them as well as could be expected under the circumstances. And I commend them for that.
Where did you find the strength to keep going in such turmoil?
How did I find the strength to keep going? I knew I was doing the right thing, and the best thing for me to do was to stay above all of the minutia that was going on. And I had always been taught never to stoop to that level. My parents had raised me a certain way, and ignorance was not something that I was to stoop to. And that's how I looked at that group. I felt sorry for them, and I also felt that they were just a bunch of ignorant people. So that's how I got through it. I mean, I had to tell myself something.
I was with you in Edgar yesterday, and I had my students there, and today a 14-year-old pulled his chair up by me.
Oh.
And he said, "Mrs. Ellenbecker, what is so bad about sitting in the back of the bus?" So I want to go back to them and give them your answer, if you would.
Well, sitting in the back of the bus was a law for black people to get on the public transportation, and you can explain to him that there was a card, that's a poster that sat there on and blacks had to sit back there. We couldn't sit next to a white person. And as I tell people, you know, I like white people.
Good.
But I don't get a buzz sitting next to them, so
That's so cute.
But that was a concern of parents, not wanting their children to sit next to a black person. I mean, that was really kind of down to the bottom line. They didn't want them participating in a play together or in the band together, you know, socializing. It would lead to too many other things, they thought.
My question is, in your comments you had stated that you were unable to participate in extracurricular activities in the first year, but by the time you were a senior, did you and Jefferson participate in any sports or any band, chorus, student government?
No, you know, in Jefferson, they really missed the boat on that. No, we couldn't. And I don't know when it was allowed, you know, after I left. But Jefferson had made state track meets.
Kyle,
and set some records. Terrence, Minnie, and Melba were some wonderful members of the choir at Dunbar and Horace Mann. Jefferson, Terrence, and I both, the three of us, I should say, were all a part of the student council. And I told the superintendent of your schools here today,
That's a good question.
you know, so many other things, you know, were going on. And that, you know, this piece, the educational part, we had to overcome. But there are so many others, and that's why I say that Brown versus Board of Education is the foundation for a lot of other acts. Because here I was a female who was vice president of the student body. I was vice president for 2 years because you didn't have a female as president of your student body. And she went through the same thing. She was the second vice president of her high school, and then she finally became the president of the student body. And they had never had a female as president of the student body. Now, she's younger than I am, so there was progress, okay, that had taken place. So we have these gender things that we have to deal with. We have housing acts that we have to deal with allowing people who don't look like you to buy into your neighborhood. You know, Voters' Rights Act, all of those things are are things that are due to every American citizen. And unfortunately, we have to keep fighting for those laws to stay on the books, to keep us going forward, instead of constantly taking one step forward and two steps back.
So
That's my
what was,
announcement today.
so what was going through your mind when you walked through the doors of Central High School?
The first day,
Yeah.
we made it. I said, well, how about that? I guess we'll be here now since we have the military. So,
Oh, yeah.
but it was still not, I'm going to tell you one thing, what I feel more than anything, that I was behind in my classroom. Because it took 3.5 weeks to get into that school. And I knew I could compete with anyone given the same opportunity, same start time, same challenge, or what have you. And I felt like I could compete. But I'm now 3 weeks behind. And I'm just wondering, do I have to be this super Negro in here? I knew I had to be twice as good as the white kid. I had been told that all along when it came down to in preparation for anything, such as a job or what have you. But I'm thinking to myself, I've got to be this super Negro, because I'm not far behind. But I found out that I was prepared, that I had a couple of professors from the black college there in town who tutored us in certain areas and of the curriculum.
That's cool.
And the last week of those 3 weeks that we were out of school, the principal had seen to it that our homework was being sent to us so that we could at least have an idea of what was going on in the classroom. So when I walked through that door, that finally, knowing that I felt like I was going to be there all day, I felt like we had arrived in a sense, and that, unfortunately, I had to have a military guy to get me in here, but I'm here to stay.